Sabreen ma'am.
Hello everyone.
Sabreen ma'am.
Okay. I now request.
Hello everyone.
I request everyone to mute the audio so that we can start.
Sabreen ma'am.
Okay. I now request.
Hello everyone.
Hello. I request everyone to mute the audio so that we can start.
Sabreen ma'am.
Okay. I now request. Hello. I request everyone to mute the audio so that we can start. So everyone has probably muted. Honorable speaker of today's event, Dr. Nabanita Sengupta, ma'am. Founder and General Secretary of ISPEL, Dr. G.A. Ghanshyam sir. Master of Ceremonies of today's event, Ms. Elma Darnay. Esteemed poets, colleagues, academicians, researchers, and student friends. It is a matter of honor and pride to welcome you all today on the occasion of the poetry reading event of ISPEL Assam Forum. I'd like to express heartfelt gratitude to our honorable speaker, Dr. Nabanita Sengupta, for accepting our invitation to grace this event. I'm also grateful to Ms. Elma Darnay, who accepted the responsibility of moderating the event. Thank you so much. The Indian Society for the Promotion of English Language and Literature was formed under the noble initiative of Dr. G.A. Ghanshyam sir. He is Professor of English at the Department of Higher Education, Chhattisgarh. ISPEL was inaugurated on the virtual platform on 5th September 2020 with the motto, facilitate to elevate. The society works for the benefit of the fraternity of English in particular and the stakeholders in general by giving a platform to the students, scholars, teachers, and literature lovers to engage in academic deliberations. ISPEL today has emerged as a prominent society under the able leadership of Dr. Anupama Vora, President, and Professor G.A. Ghanshyam, founder and secretary, with many regional forums being formed, such as that of Chhattisgarh, Tripura, Rajasthan, South Karnataka, East Maharashtra, West Bengal, and Assam. Our Assam forum was formed on 38 December 2000. It was actually formally approved on 30 December 2021 and inaugurated on 27 January 2022. And today's event is going to be our first event. We decided to devote this program to poetry since poetry is almost the favorite interest of all literature lovers. Our program today not only aims to enlighten, but also endeavors to entertain and provide some kind of refreshment also. With this objective, we have included a kind of lecture to be delivered by our esteemed speaker and also poetry readings by the esteemed members of our forum. I sincerely hope that we will all greatly benefit from today's lecture and deliberation on poetry to be delivered by our esteemed speaker. I, as the coordinator and convener, thank wholeheartedly everyone who has joined us today on this occasion. Now, before beginning today's events, let me introduce first our Master of Ceremonies, Ms. Elma Lanansiami Darnay. Ms. Elma Darnay hails from Haflong, and as you know, Haflong is a beautiful town in the district of Dima Hasao in Assam. She is an aspiring poet, and she started writing poems from the age of 13, and she is currently a member of the Intercultural Poetry and Performance Library. At present, she is working as a subject teacher in English at the Maibang High Secondary School, Dima Hasao. And besides being a dedicated teacher, Elma is a very talented singer. I now request Ms. Elma to carry forward today's proceedings.
Much, Shambalima Madam, for the wonderful introduction. And also we thank you for giving us and illuminating us on iSpell. So personally, I feel very honored to be sharing in today's event and for being the Master of Ceremonies. I take the privilege to welcome you all to the first ever virtual meet on the poetry reading event of iSpell. And today we are very confident that today's meeting will be a starting point of accomplishment for our motto, that is to facilitate, to elevate. So we are very much enthusiastic, and even I personally am very excited. And as we all know, poetry is a medium in which we can all express what is in our hearts, even when our lips fail to express. So we are happy that such a platform is created here today for especially us poetry lovers. And our today's event will be honored by our esteemed honorable speaker, Nabanita Sengupta Madam. So let me first introduce her. Our speaker for today, Dr. Nabanita Sengupta, is an associate professor in Sarsana College, Kolkata, a translator, academic, and creative writer. Dr. Nabanita Sengupta's works has been variously published in anthologies and e-journals. She has translated a work of Bengali 19th century travel writing by the title A Bengali Lady in England, and a contemporary non-fiction Chamba Revisited, a volume of critical essays, Understanding Displacement of Women, and poetry anthology, Voices and Vision. She has also authored an ebook of fiction, Gumi Days. She is also an executive member of, member of executive committee in IPPL, that is Intercultural Poetry and Performance Library, in which I'm also a member. And this is a non-profit organization that aims to generate academic interest towards poetry and nurture creativity and reading habit. So the IPPL is also committed to bringing poetry to the heart of the nation. And today she'll be delivering a lecture on the topic Activism and Contemporary Indian Poetic Voices in English. So we all know that poetry has immense power to influence people. So can poetry bring about a social change? Can poetry impact the lives of people? And if so, how? So, and there are a lot more questions in our minds probably. So I also request all the members to listen to the lecture. And also if we have any questions, we can ask our esteemed speaker today. So we're eager to listen to her. So ma'am, over to you. And so let us request Dr. Nabanita Madam to deliver her lecture. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Elma. That was a very generous introduction, and I'm really happy that I could be a part of this inaugural program of iSpell Assam. And I thank you. I thank also Professor Shamalima Saikia for inviting me, and also the entire organizing team behind this event, and also all the members of iSpell. Thanks a lot. Poetry as activism is something which is, a very broad area, and it is also overlapping area. And before I start talking, I would just like to share my screen with you so that you can also, I have the points on the screen which you can also take a look at when I start speaking. Okay, so I'll just quickly share my PPT. Just one moment. It's taking a bit of time to actually get reflected on the screen. Yeah, I think it should do now. Yeah, I hope the PPT is visible to all of you. And with a very good evening, I now will start with my talk. So activism in Indian poetry, and I'm looking at particularly poetry in English. Now the scenario, the situation is extremely, it's a very rich scenario now, like compared to the time when Indian poets started writing in English, because there were a lot of anxieties when initially English was taken up as a language of, or as a medium of expression. Now, when we are looking at the scenario today, we see that that's not the case. We find the Indian poets writing in English are extremely comfortable in their skin when they are talking about, in the language in which they are expressing themselves in. And in the process somewhere, the language that once belonged to those people who had been rulers here had somehow become the language that lingua franca of the country, and has become a point of connection across states, across cultures, across languages, because India, being such a diversely cultural country, it is important that and it is inevitable that one language would emerge as a language of communication. So somewhere along the line, along the years, we find that there has been a change in the way, or there has been, in fact, I won't say a change, but there has been an evolution in the way we have started looking at English. And now, particularly, Indian writing in English and Indian poetry in English looks very comfortably set. And in fact, we find a lot of writings now happening, revolving around this entire concept of Indian poets writing in English. In fact, I myself write a monthly column in a journal called Saranga, which comes out from the US. It's an e-journal where the editor specifically wanted one column on Indian poetic voices writing in English. So this is one example. There has been numerous such platforms where we find that people are engaging with this particular genre, and there is like this, it's required as well. It is important also that we start engaging with this genre, because this has now presented us with a variety and a richness that had not been seen in the previous cases. Now, a few days back, I was actually reading a novel called The Middle Finger, which has been authored by Shoikat Majumdar, who's a professor at Ashoka University, and he teaches literature and creative writing both. So now he wrote this novel, The Middle Finger, in which the protagonist is a woman who's an academician as well as a poet. Now that intrigued me. We do not have too many campus novels where we find a female protagonist, and that too the protagonist who's an academician and a poet, and she has a lot of anxieties regarding her poetry. She is comfortable in writing poetry, but when her poetry is performed, she cannot sort of come to terms with it, because she feels that she is speaking in a different voice. She's speaking borrowed voices, because in her poems, and I must say, I missed out saying that she's a PhD candidate at Princeton University and taking some classes in another university. So in the US, so she's based in US, and she finds solidarity with other oppressed classes there. She finds solidarity with the Blacks, the homosexuals, the LGBTQI movement, the other marginal categories that we come across. And she finds that her poetry finds a voice there. Now, there's a reason why I started my talk with by talking about this novel, because what's happening is, say she is a marginal figure there. And when she comes back to India, taking up a position as a professor in a private university in India, particularly in Delhi, and she starts teaching there, the entire politics of her identity changes, you know, and she, from a marginal character, suddenly occupies the center stage. Now, what intrigued me is she loses her voice of poetry then. And that actually got me thinking. For quite some period of time, she could not write. So as I read the novel, as I was moving along the pages, I kept on thinking that what is it that makes her write poems there? And she was quite popular. She was quite published as one, she was also appreciated as an upcoming poet. So what is it that a successful, or at least an upcoming poet, loses her poetry, voice of poetry once she moves from margin to the center? And that actually made me think about the marginality and poetry and the relationship between them. And and I started thinking that was it from a sense of lack, or was it from a sense of rage or injustice that poetry was born? And when I'm doing this monthly column, as I said, in Saranga magazine, which is an e-journal, I have this column called Poets Speak, and there, in order to do that column, I have come across some very beautiful contemporary poetry in English. And when I say beautiful, I'm not talking only in terms of the aesthetics of the poem, but in terms of their engagement, in terms of their engagement with the society, the way they are bringing out their voices, and how they are performing, as in performing means presenting their ideas, their concerns in terms of poetry. So when I was actually invited to talk on this platform, I decided, because all these things were going on in my mind, so I thought that let me look at the concept of activism in Indian poetry, because I felt that the Indian poets writing in English today has a lot to say regarding the social injustices, regarding the oppressive structures of power, and they are constantly negotiating, interacting, hitting out at the hierarchies of power. And as we evolve as society, as we move, the society, I'm talking of the global society, as we look at it today, is in a constant state of flux. And this rate of change is much more than the rate at which we could see social changes happening maybe before, we can say, the pre-internet, in the pre-internet days. So, there is this, the rate of change has become so fast. And what happens with every changing form, we come across new hierarchies of power, we come across new agents of oppression, and activism, therefore, becomes a way of engaging with these social and political structures. And therefore, when we are looking at the Indian poets, we find that they are constantly engaging with this change. Now, there is this quote. This is by Janice Lobo Sapiago, who's actually the daughter of Philippine immigrants from Philippines, and she writes. She says, poetry is activism because line by line, it contains the potential to ask difficult questions, to participate in literary spaces, to push past the discomfort, and to build worlds where possibilities drive us. People say that they are often moved, held, or taken by poems. And aren't those actions the basis of activism? Poetry, this way, is a movement. When I read this passage, it was in one of the columns that she'd been writing. Now, when I came across this passage, I found that this is such a beautiful definition. This is such a beautiful way to express what you mean by activism in poetry, because poetry is such a medium which actually gives contains the potential, there's this potential to ask difficult questions. And within the literary spaces, poetry is constantly pushing boundaries. And we can say that poetry is pushing boundaries when we it is in terms of form, in terms of content, which is why it is such a living genre. It's such a living a genre of expression, because we find poetry expanding itself to accommodate whatever crisis comes. And poets are trying to engage with that. It brings me, takes me back to P.B. Shelley's words as poets as the unacknowledged legislature of our society, and that is and that becomes very much evident, that role of this unacknowledged legislature, it becomes evident with the poets engaging with engaging with such different modes of expression, the various kinds of crises that we come across in terms of society. Now, these are just a few definitions of the dictionary definitions of what we mean by activism. Now, the Oxford says that it is the policy or action of using vigorous campaigning to bring about political or social change. I'm not just going to read all of them, but all the definitions, they say that activism means something when you are fighting for a cause. So in a nutshell, it is like we have a cause and we are moving towards it. So there can be the political activism, environmental activism, there's this Black student activism, and there are so many kinds of activism. So now, by setting the definition of what activism actually means, we can move further towards literary activism, because poetry is a form of literature. Now, when we look at literary activism, we see here that it takes a number of forms, and I have taken a quote from one of the author Pankaj Mishra, where he talks about focusing on writing about literature in the language, less of aesthetics and more of moral concern. This also is a kind of activism, that you are more engaged with the moral concern. I just want to cross-check at this point. Are you able to view the screen, the PowerPoint? Are the writings visible, or they're not?
Yeah, they're very clear, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. So I give this quotation or this excerpt, like Pankaj Mishra. He says that he wants to write not in the language of aesthetics, more in the language of moral concern. So people have different ways of looking at what they consider to be the poetry, to be the language of poetry. And that is the beauty, that we all have our own languages of poetic expression. And the language, even if it's the language of protest, can differ just as the politics of protest differs. Okay. Now, so if we look at the text, that is the poem, as an ethical construction, then we look at the author who's choosing author has the right to choose what stories he would or she would want to say, the settings, the characters. So the author has the prerogative to choose. Now, by choosing is an important political act. It's a very conscious political act, because when I choose to tell one story, I'm choosing not to tell 1,000 more. So if I, as a woman, if I try to tell one story, say if I am telling the story of myself as an oppressed woman, or as a woman who is oppressed in the gender sphere, I'm probably not telling story of another woman who is oppressed in probably in her political identity, or maybe the caste identity, or whatever. So when I'm choosing to say one story, I am not choosing 1,000,000 more. Now, that goes about the author, about the creator of the text. So when we are talking in terms of literary activism, in poetry in particular, there is a very self-conscious decision to talk about one particular thing and not to talk about many other things in that particular poem. Okay. Now, in being a reader, see, readers are also equal participants in any kind of activism, because who are the authors writing for? Who are the poets writing for? So if I'm writing poetry and there are no readers, what's the point in writing? So here we have readers in their choosing what to write. Once again, they are making a political choice, a conscious political choice, which gives them the power to select what I want to read and what I do not want to read. So to select, to reject. So the entire process of activism in poetry, in any literary sphere, then becomes an action of selecting or rejecting, in engaging with one issue, saying that, okay, this issue is important, I'm going to talk about this. And that choice becomes a very important part. Now, cultural and social justice movements, we have seen, they often employ literature and adopt literary tropes in activism. So all these, the NRC movement, there were a number of poems that had been composed around it. Or if we look at the Me Too, hashtag Me Too global movement, we find a lot of reclaiming being done through poetry. Or Black feminism, there are such wonderful poets and such powerful voices that we have seen emerging from Black feminism. So these are all cultural and social justice movement in the global platform, where we find poets, the movements employing certain literature, certain aspects of literature, literary movements, genres of literature as their vehicle for expression. And that, so these literary genres then give a kind of exposure, or give a kind of body of expression to these literary movements. Okay. Now, when we are looking at poetry as activism, then there are agencies of power, as I said earlier, that creates, promotes, propagates newer or existing forms of marginalities. And these marginalities can be margin of gender, marginalities of gender, of sexuality, of caste, of class, of political oppression, of mental health, of various kinds of violence. Violence becomes a very important part of expression like poetry activism. So these are some of the very important genres or areas that we find people or the poets engaging in. Now, in one of the interviews, I was I had an interview with poet Nabina Das, and she said, and I'm quoting her, she said that poetry means freedom. Poetry means freedom, resistance, free spirit. Also, understanding grief and loss, understanding silence and choice. Isn't it important? Poetry? I know tyrants also claim to write poetry, and humorless people swear they understand poetry. Those on the pedestal posing as deities, self-appointed guardians, gatekeepers, and betrayers spew poetry. Poetry is important, it seems. For me, I would like to keep it along to make me an empathetic being, if not a poet outright, unquote. Now, see, when what the poetry means to Nabina Das, I find that this is actually what we mean when we are talking in terms of activism. Activism means to choose to speak or to not to speak. So to understand if someone is not speaking, so to empathize with the silence. So empathy becomes a very important factor in the and a very much required character in the poets, in the poetry lovers, both the creators of poetry and the readers of poetry. So through these words, simply summing up very important points of poetry being freedom, poetry also being resistance, poetry being that free spirit. So this would actually be what one means by poetry as activism. Now, the consciousness regarding one's positionality and awareness regarding the marginal existence leads to the birth of certain kinds of literature, and it becomes an attempt to give voice to the margin. The dysfunctional systems, power systems, the fascist structures, the institutions of oppressions, various forms, well-established system of communication, all these things give birth to literature of resistance and protest. Now, so when we are looking at these various literature of resistance and protest, we can find that these are some of the categories, some of the very few categories in which we can talk of what it is, what it means, or how oppression, how power can be articulated against, how one can go against the established genre of power. Now, poetry, why is poetry such an important medium of activism? Another point that comes to my mind is like theater. There's a performative aspect to poetry, and that makes it a kind of a suitable vehicle for promoting activism. So when it is performed, there's a voice to the viewers of a poetry performance. The written words are not just abstract ideas, but through the persona of the performer, it gains a different kind of an existence. And because when a person is performing poetry, it is not just the voice, it is not just the speech, but it is also expression. So, but that doesn't mean that only performed poetry is activism. Not exactly, because when we are talking about activism, we mean it to engage with a particular cause, campaigning to bring about a social, political, ecological change. And poetry has a lot to offer because it means voicing one's concern, not having to mince one's words, not having to be scared that I'll not be speaking about this. And actually, I want to read a few poems to emphasize on the various aspects of literary activism that we have here. Can you just let me know how much time I have? 5 minutes? Or I've completed the time? Just let me know.
You can continue, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, so I just want to. This poem, this one. This is actually a very important poem. She was told. This is by Dalit English poet. She's Aruna Gogula Manda. She's a Telugu English poet, and she was performing in a Sahitya Academy poetry recitation. And there she says, when after that event, when her expression, when people asked how her experience was, she said, and I'm quoting her, that when a majority of the country is excluded and only a few write, that doesn't count as poetry. Today, poetry is what? That comes from immediate anger and pain due to adverse developments in the society. So for her, for a poet belonging to the, who comes from the Telugu Dalit perspective, background, for her to speak, to write in English is also a way of reclaiming that identity. It's a very it's kind of, because otherwise English was considered to be an elitist language. English was often considered to be a place where everybody doesn't have a kind of exposure, and quite a number of Dalit poets in their writing in English, they are reclaiming that space. They are trying to reclaim that kind of space, what was considered to be only an elitist space. Now, I just have this poem here. I won't read the whole of it, but a bit of it. She was told not to wear a blouse, to allow every male watch her as a device. She was told to bend her back, not walk straight, to fill the tender tummies, keeping herself abased. She was told to toil all day long in the fields as a human machine, deprived of food and water. She was told to swallow the pain of not feeding her body, though her lactating breasts pine to sate its hunger. So the entire poem is an experience that the Dalit woman was forced to go through, and she ends it with a kind of reclaiming her identity. And she says, her eyes, I'm just going towards the end, her eyes, two dry hollows, bear silent witness to hundreds of deaths of her mothers, daughters, sisters, their dreams, respect, and their bodies. Her calloused hands, her unkempt hair, her cracked heels, her wrinkled hair tell the tales of living through fears and years of centuries and millennia of violations and deaths. She was told that she was dirt. She was filth in this sacred land of thousands of goddesses. She is called a Dalit. And that ending is powerful. By calling herself a Dalit, she is reclaiming that identity. She's a very powerful writer, and she writes in both the languages. This poem was written in Telugu, and then she translated it in English. So, this experience, that voicing out my experience, my marginalization, the violation of my body, my oppression, that becomes very important when we look at it. So when we are looking at these agencies of power, when we look at the caste class equation in our country, we realize how marginalization works and how these poets, they are trying to constantly negotiate with that kind of oppression. There's another poem that I want to read. I'm sorry, I could not put all the poems in this PowerPoint, but there's one poem that I want to read, which is by a very young Kashmiri poet Huzaifa Pandit, and he writes, the poem is titled as Imaginary Homelands. And we all know the problems of Kashmir. We all know the kind of crisis that is happening there. And he writes, when I mourn the loss of our imaginary homeland, drawn in the puddles of grey rain, fleeing from a furious monsoon, I pour my exiled grief, pressed close to my damp heart, into a well-thumbed copy of the namesake. Many encounters ago, it lost its virginity. To my curiosity aroused from hearsay, deaf to oriental grief in the printed breath of Ashima. At the coarse touch of pirated paper, I relive an old memory. 16 crescents ago, I consoled her namesake in a drowsy car warm with a Kashmiri afternoon sun. I grieved over her exiled grief, sketched in sudden tears and sullen eyes. I bookmarked the page with a tired sigh and play a ghazal by Zafar. Will someone light a candle in the sovereign's defeated memory on a modest grave in a foreign land? The wanderer darns the frayed threads of an imagined memory. So this entire concept of homeland being a concrete geospatial locality, that is being challenged, and that is something that these young poets in Kashmir, they are dealing with, that entire anxiety of belonging, of where do we belong. So these kind of poems also, like, they are dealing with the various forms of political engagements that we find engaging with the power structure. So that's something very important. A very interesting book that I had come across in during my poetry readings is a book called Collegiality and Other Ballads, and it is a book which has been edited by Shamaita Sen. And what she does in this poem, in this book, she says that this is feminist poets by male and non-binary allies. So she tries to break that stereotype which says that feminism is only for women, and she makes men, or rather I would want to say non-female writers, write about female experiences, female modes of expressions. And she says, and I'm reading from that anthology, she says, this anthology responds to various tenets of third and fourth wave feminism. Feminist theories do not exclude men from its periphery. It must be noted that anti-men statements that are rampant in popular media are misrepresentations of feminist politics. We believe in bell hooks imagination, feminism is for everybody, or as Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie emphasized, that men should be gender sensitive, or as Kamla Bhasan puts it, feminism is not biological. Feminism is an ideology. So what she is doing here is actually, she is trying to look at, I've just stopped sharing because I don't have anything like in PowerPoint doesn't have much, but I just wanted to show this book. So this is the book that I'm reading from. So she says she is breaking that stereotypical notion of feminism being something that is represented only by women. And there's a very interesting, a very small poem, a short poem by K. Sachidanandan. We all know he's a very famous poet, and he says this 6-line poem called Non-Negotiable, and he says, she stripped herself bare and scrawled with charcoal all over her body. Non-negotiable. Then she poured petrol from head to foot and set herself afire. So the violence of woman's body and the woman claiming her territory by writing non-negotiable. So the fact that a non-female or a man engaging with this kind of discourse itself seems to be a very important part. Another kind of activism that I've been seeing is there's a lot of poetry that's being written about the mental health, and there's a very beautiful poem by Nishi Pulugurtha, and she is a poet who writes about dementia and mental illness, and she writes, and I'll just read another short poem by her, which is called Lost Things. And just I would like you to just listen to this poem, and like it talks about dementia and how memory becomes such a tricky thing for those who are suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. The book goes into the refrigerator. My slippers are under my clothes. I look for something. Now, what is it I'm looking for? I find a piece of paper. I look at it intently. It is important, I think. Must be kept safely. I lift my mattress and put it there. How did these things get there? A spoon, a towel. What is this in my hand? How did it come here? They trouble me. I do not know what to do. I climb up the bed and lay down. Sleep envelops me. Things happen. They trouble me. I get up. I need to find it. It must be kept somewhere. So it's a kind of constant finding, searching for something, because you are in a constant process of forgetting. So this is another kind of activism that I find poets engaging in, making people aware of the mental health, of the importance of mental health, and also in the process growing empathy, because that is one area where there is very little awareness and a lot of lack of concern. There's another book which I found very interesting, which is, again, I would like to show the cover, which is like Open Your Eyes. It's a book by which has been edited by Vinita Agarwal, and this is an anthology on climate change, poetry and prose. And there is a beautiful poem by this is a very beautiful poem by Gayatri Majumdar, and I'll just read it out quickly. A tree remembers, this is untitled, and she says, a tree remembers the fruits it would surely bear if the sky fails to rain. These are austere days of bleeding beneath a sun, moments before being locked away in unmarked heavy trucks. A tree remembers seasons and stories of unrequited love, of sadness and penniless afternoons holding up other earths, and sudden wings of awakenings. Gull-less city, hot afternoon, another savage sunflowers in the pupil of a fish eye. So climate change and how that is changing our ecological terrain, how that is making us, how that is creating a kind of disturbance in that entire ecology. And that is something very important that we need to engage with. And we find a lot of it in poems of Mamang Dai. I did not actually bring any poems of Mamang Dai to read, because I'm sure everybody here is familiar with the poem. So a lot of going back to the roots, going back to holistic living, organic living, and creating poetry out of that, that also comes under this entire genre of activism. But a very important work has been, and a very seminal work has been, this Witness by Nabina Das. She had edited this, and this is called the Poetry of Dissent. And in this Poetry of Dissent, what she is doing here is, and I'm reading from her writing, she says that we are doing this anthology of dissent poetry to counter the tyranny of our system, of the ruling disposition, and of all institutional injustices that continue to prevail and perpetuate, especially in the pandemic. If not now, then when? It is imperative we speak up and urge for structural changes to lives livelihoods, and above all, for freedom of expression. Poetry is witness to all that. And here we find she's bringing the entire corpus of dissent together. So, like, we are looking at various kinds of activism in poetry, various kinds of concerns coming up in the contemporary poetic scenario, and we are actually looking at how poets are constantly engaging with this. Now, we are living in a digital age, and we are very powerfully connected with each other. Whatever movement starts at one corner of the world, immediately sort of it stretches, it goes into the other part of the world. And this entire way of connecting has given a new kind of life to all the movements. Think of this hashtag #MeToo movement. It started as a part of this Black American movement, or think of the other Black Lives Matter. From there, we come to the Indian context where we have this Dalit Lives Matter. So we have these various forms of, it moves very fast, you know, these modes of poetry, these movements, these social movements, and the speed of information dissemination has become a hallmark of this age, which makes this time, this contemporary time, truly congenial for all kinds, for literary activism. And therefore, this is the best period when poetry blooms through activism and brings us all together in a common effort to move towards a more equal society. Thank you.
That was very wonderful lecture. Thank you so much, Madam Navanita Di. And we have very clearly understood about activism, and you have very well elaborated how poetry has been used as an active means of expression. And I personally like the novel you talked about, that is The Middle Finger, and how well it resonates with especially, let's say, the female writers, poets. And I guess it will also resonate well with most of us. And also the particular line here you have recited from Janice Lobo Sepiago says that poetry this way is a movement. It is a medium to ask difficult questions and pushing boundaries, and also how much it is a living genre of expression. So, and also how poetry addresses Alzheimer's diseases, dementia, health, even health problems, and also how much it empathizes with both the poets and also the readers. So I hope everyone will be very much enriched. And also, once again, I thank you very much. We thank you. In fact, we thank you very much.
Nice.
And now we will move on to some question round. We will welcome some questions or queries if we have amongst our esteemed members. So if any members, we won't have much time, so we apologize for that. So we'll welcome just 1 or 2 questions. If there's any questions from our members, from our esteemed members, let us open it now. Are there any questions? So I'm not getting any response.
First of all, I would like to thank Navanita Sengupta Madam for this deliberation, which is so lucid, as well as it's so full of examples and the necessary means that is required to look upon poetry as activism. So basically her talk is focusing on the political notion of poetry. But ma'am, do you agree that poetry is also a sort of therapy when you talk about mental health? I mean, people who themselves deal with mental health sometimes, you know, take up writing as a tool, as a therapy. So would you like to correlate it with activism? or I mean, we have to keep it separate, that personal and political and social cause may be different. I mean, I just want to have your brief viewpoint on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sabreen Ahmed, for bringing this question up. In fact, I had this book with me, which I wanted to talk about, but then I thought I was overstepping the time a lot, so I did not. So this is actually, Hibiscus Poems That Heal and Empower, brought out, edited by Kirti Sengupta, who himself is also a poet, Anu Majumdar and Dustin Pickering. Now, it actually, this book is an answer, is the response to your question. Like here also, we are looking at a kind of, like healing becomes an activism in itself. This was a book that was brought out during the pandemic when people were all around looking very glum and down and things were not going well. And I find it a very brave endeavor that at such a point of time, they brought out this anthology, not focusing on the problems, but focusing on healing. So healing is definitely another kind of activism. It all depends on like where you are placing yourself as a reader. And when I talk of activism, I don't mean only political structures of power, but also any kind of agenda, any kind of the agenda can be healing, agenda can be beauty. If we look at the romantic poetry in the English literary history, there too, that's a kind of different kind of activism in poetry, where they are going close to the nature, which is a revolt against the previously existing forms of poetry. So I feel poetry always engages with something new. It tries to break free from the shackles that tries to tie it, limit it, and it goes beyond limitations. And in this going beyond limitation, probably this entire germination of activism occurs. I don't know if I answered your query or not.
Thank you, ma'am.
So are there any more questions? So I guess there's no more questions. So thank you once again, ma'am. And also for very clearly describing, elaborating, and also how beautifully you have spoken. And also, I personally like the idea that poetry, how much helpful it is as a means of healing. Also, poetry especially is a witness to all this, like political movements, social, ecological, and also poetry blooms through activism. That particular, I personally like it. So thank you so much once again. And now we will move on to our much awaited program session, that is the poetry reading event. And as we said, this is the first ever virtual poetry reading session. So I hope all the members are also excited as well. So first of all, I'd like to call upon Madam Dipashree Das Sarkar. First of all, I'll just introduce her. Mrs. Dipashree Das Sarkar works as an associate professor in English, Margarita College. She is a multilingual poet, writes in 4 different languages, that is Bengali, Assamese, Hindi, and English. And she has also authored 5 books already. And besides being a poet, Dipashree ma'am is also actively involved in various social activities. So, Dipashree ma'am, are you there? So over to you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for introducing me. I'm very, rooted very much to the ground, saying hello and warm good evening from the easternmost corner of Assam and Arunachal, where the sun rises. And in this warm, Basant, I just want to introduce the Indian English term Basant Bahar. नए बसंत के शुरुआत में हम लोग जो पोएट्री के एक सिलसिला में आज से जुड़ी हुई है, तो इसी के लिए सबको बधाई देती हूँ. I'm just Navneeta ma'am ko main, I want to thank her because she is just a wonderful person I have ever met virtually. She has elaborated everything, as a activist which we can relate to poetry. Actually, I am using my poetry, my pen as a therapy, and I just write it to ventilate my feelings. When I feel that I'm suffocated, I cannot, and I want to give the voice of thousands voiceless women. So this is actually I'm thankful to this spell, and especially Shamolima and you, so everyone, all are my friends. Maybe we are not personally connected, but over the, this is the platform where we can come and we can share our experiences, and let us to be united for a good cause. So my for this poem is The Ballad of a Bad Girl. Till date, in this subcontinent, the good girls are supposed to be meek, soft-spoken, little confused, and always seem to be totally dependent on their male counterparts. Those girls, ladies, who raise their voice against many prejudices, subjugation against their own folk, in the name of religion, tradition, culture, becomes the voice of many a voiceless. They are termed as immodest, impertinent, impudent. Those so-called bad girls are the rebels. And if those rebels are empowered by beauty and intelligence, they are easy prey of societal onlookers. Sometimes her dress code is questioned, friend circle are questioned, even her chastity remains at stake. In that way, I want to term myself as a bad girl. I do share the equal responsibility along with my male counterparts, chat endlessly with my friends, ride alone with my 2 and 4 wheelers. Alone, I travel from this end of the country to that end. Talks about feminism, humanism, women empowerment. Take part in debate, raise voice against injustice, insecurity, inequality, and many gender issues. I know I'm pretty matchless in this small town. I cannot take part in those kitty parties where the lovely ladies significantly talk about those insignificant tales, chit-chat gossips, quarrels with housemates, elopement of someone's daughter, new affair of Mr. Singh, and whatnot. Once I met one of my college friends with her husband. In the same flight, we were supposed to travel. She showed on me a bulk of question and showered me so love and care. Are you alone? Where are you going? Where will you stay? Does your husband allow you to roam alone? I was little shocked and perplexed. Are we not living in the 3rd decade of 21st century? Then she glibly justifies her point. I'm very precious to my hubby. He never leaves me alone. And me being a priceless woman, after the day's work, go for vegetables, grocery, medicines for self, books and stationery items for children, taking notice of even the thread of pajama of my hubby. I just opened the door. Home, oh sweet home. Oh, what a relief. Nobody waits to welcome me with a cup of aromatic tea or coffee. The maid often leaves if I come little late. All my friends pat on my back, call me one in a million. Ironically, women like Indira Gandhi, Kiran Bedi, Medha Patkar are worshipped from a distance. The country salutes them, but hardly anyone with honor accept them as wives, better half, and daughter-in-law. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Dipashri Das Sarkar. So your poem, thank you so much for the beautiful reading. Your poem has addressed very well the issues that is mainly faced by women, and also it has, as we are on this topic, it has very well addressed how society, or let's say, how much it addresses both society and social issues and the stigma faced by the women. So thank you once again. And now we will welcome Dr. Madhumita Purkayastha. Are you there, ma'am?
Yeah, good evening, and happy to be here.
Okay. Ma'am, first I'll introduce you.
Evening, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Madhumita Purkayastha is an associate professor and former head of Department of English at the HSK College, Dibrugarh, Assam. A feminist women's studies researcher and activist, she has been involved in multidimensional activities on contemporary issues concerning women. She has published extensively in national and international journals and has officiated as resource person and guest speaker at academic and popular platforms and corporate sectors. So, Madam Madhumita Purkayastha, so can we have your reading, please?
Thank you, Elma. Good evening, everyone, and especially Shamolima for egging me on to take part in this session. I actually had second thoughts, but I thought that I should participate in the very first virtual session after she has taken so much pains. And I was just, it's a pleasure being here, and especially this enlightening talk by Dr. Navanita. It was fascinating, and I had so much to, in fact, respond to, but there is no time. So I thought that I should reserve my comments, not only comments. In fact, I would like to interact with you, ma'am, in future and connect with you. I will ask for your email from Shamalima and do that. As of now, since, I'm not good at reading poems. I told Shamalima, I do write, dabble a little bit in English, Bengali and Hindi. So I would read out a poem of mine and leave the interpretation to you all. So I begin, I call this poem, I've titled this. Generally, I don't have a title for poems, I just put a hashtag, but this one is Recluse, and a midnight poem from me. Something in me definitely loves walls. Invisible, sparkling, clear, yet intimidating and standoffish. Glass walls, with one-way vision, soundproof of course. My personal defense ring and smokescreen to shield the real me in me and that foolish, vulnerable, bloody lump that drums out hope beats, pulsing from moment to moment. Refusing to stop, it still swings and springs at season turns and flamboyant sunsets and resonates deep down with cosmic melodies. I desperately need that wall. I desperately need that wall to surround my me space and I just missed a line. To surround my me space so I don't respond to fate tales. No, no more. And naive love and innocence, the hurt of watching them fall apart and turn into hate sagas is too much. So I let my mind to be myself. No. I let my mind curl in a tight cocoon of peace semblance. I wall off chaos and cacophony. Wall me in a dark, bright place. Shell of pearl, coral, myriad, impulsive. Something in me needs a wall to fence in my disruptive insurgents, to make me a good, obedient law abider, to rein in the wilderness raging within. Thank you.
Elma, you are muted. Elma, you are muted.
Okay. So sorry. That was a very beautiful reading, Madam Madhumita Purkayashta. So I've seen, we have heard how beautifully you have put the poem Recluse, and how your, your expression, your, how should I put into my own words, how much you have fought for it, or how much emotions you have brought into your poetry. So that was a very wonderful poem. Thank you so much. Next, we will move on to our very dear Meenakshi Goswami, ma'am. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
so
very much.
good evening, ma'am. Madam Meenakshi Goswami is the principal of CNS Higher Secondary School, Sonitpur, Assam. She has 2 books of poems to her credit, and also her poems have been published in many anthologies. She is a recipient of the State Award for Teachers from Government of Assam, Republic Day, award in 2013 and 2019 for her dedicated service to human resources, art and culture, and the Shiksha Ratna Purashkar 2016 in recognition of all-round excellence as an educationist. She has attended many multilingual international poetry festivals in India and abroad. So ma'am, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible? Yes, okay. So good evening once again to everyone. And I must thank Shamolima for giving me this opportunity and including me in NICEPL. And Elma, I'm thankful to you too. It was a wonderful evening. Dr. Navanita Sengupta has really spoke so well, and the poems are really wonderful. So without wasting much of time, I basically am into teaching, but yes, by passion, I do write poetry. So let me recite my poem today. And so I write very positive. And of course, sometimes everyone, we feel, actually poetry is everything about emotions, isn't it? So I'm going to recite a poem from my second book, Waltzing Words. So the title of the poem is A Romance Incurable. Are we finally going to kill our thirst? Why are you blocking the fountain of love while I stand resolute in my belief that the well is not yet dry? Through joy and happiness, our love began. The little drops became a stream, and the stream a river. We cried, we laughed, we cuddled, we fought. There were times that we didn't even feel like seeing each other. But in the end, it really didn't matter, because we knew that the stream of love continued to flow silent and deep. When anger starts to seep in through our hearts, we speak volumes, we rave and rant, with blames and accusations that might have torn us apart. So with the passage of time, we cared not to look eye to eye, for they are filled with too much dishonesty, too much lie, and perhaps too much pride with no trust and no respect. And then we wonder, Where is the love that we created knowingly and unknowingly? Are we supposed to succumb to our numbness and dumbness with no sense of why we are drifting apart? Through non-existence differences, sad to know that all have come down to nothing else but just hatred and loathing that is as real as the love that kept us together. I so lost amidst contradictions, can't find a place to begin once again and mend the leaks. But if you think you know the truth and you know the way and your mind is at peace, I'm glad for you because I perhaps am a victim of cynicism while you are stable and invulnerable. Hope one day our love resurfaces once again, and once again the streams flow in spate, while for now we move on hand in hand, perhaps like two long lost friends in our reunion. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi ma'am, for your wonderful reading. You always, how should I say? I'm always very. I like your poems because I have seen you posting it on Facebook, especially this
Yeah.
words in words, and these addresses romance, and also you have brought forward love so well, the youthful days of love. So thank you very much, ma'am. So we will
Thank you,
move
everyone.
on.
Thank you, Shamolima. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we will move on to our next participant. That is Nita Sharma. Are you there, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm there. Am I audible?
So, yes. So Madam Nita Sharma is working as an associate professor in English, ADP College Nagaon, and she's the associate editor of Jatra, a poetry journal since 2017. She has to her credit several translation projects and has published several research papers in national seminar. So ma'am, let us have your reading, please.
Thank you, Elmo. And today, as everyone said before me, it has been a wonderful evening, and particularly the introductory speech by Dr. Navanita Sengupta. It was so impressive. I just like to ask Shamalima and you also that can we have a recording of that speech? Because it will be very beneficial if we all can have rehear it again and again.
Yes, ma'am. We are doing live stream on YouTube, and hopefully it will be recorded there.
Thank you, Shamalima. And as my predecessors, everyone recited their own creations, but I am not a poet, as I have been introduced. I am basically a translator. So today I will be reading a poem from one of my favorite poets. Since I am not a poet, I don't write much poetry, and whatever I write, I can't recite. It's not that up to that standard to be recited here. So will I be allowed to recite a poem by one of my favorite poets, Pablo Neruda?
Sure.
Okay. So today I'm going to recite a poem by Pablo Neruda, which is Tonight I Can Write. Tonight I can write the saddest lines. Write, for example, the night is shattered and the blue stars shiver in the distance. The night wind revolves in the sky and sings. Tonight I can write the saddest lines. I loved her, and sometimes she loved me too. Through nights like this one, I held her in my arms. I kissed her again and again under the endless sky. She loved me sometimes, I loved her too. How could one not have loved her great still eyes? Tonight I can write the saddest lines, to think that I do not have her, to feel that I have lost her. To hear the immense night still more immense without her. And the verse falls to the soul like dew to the pasture. What does it matter that my love could not keep her? The night is shattered and she is not with me. That is all. In the distance, someone is singing. In the distance, my soul is not satisfied that it has lost her. My sight searches for her as though to go to her. My heart looks for her. She is not with me. The same night, whitening the same trees, we of that time are no longer the same. I no longer love her, that's certain. But how I loved her? My voice tried to find the wind to touch her hearing. Another's, she will be another's, like my kisses before, her voice, her bright body, her infinite eyes. I no longer love her, that's certain. But maybe I loved her. Love is so short, forgetting is so long. Because through nights like this, I held her in my arms. My soul is not satisfied that it has lost her. Through this, though this be the last pain that she makes me suffer, and this is the last verse that I write for her. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Nita Sharma. So despite telling us that you don't write poetry, but you recite so well, so I think you should give a hand on poetry. I think you write very well. And I especially love the last lines that you have recited. Love is so short, forgetting is so long. Very beautiful lines. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's why I'm associated with being an associate editor with one of the journals where we publish poems of budding writers, young writers. We have been working on it from 2017. It has been almost 4 years, over 4 years. But I tend to read a lot of poems which come from budding writers. And I'm so happy with that I have never tried seriously to write. I don't think I can.
You have to try.
But I love poetry. Thank you for giving me this chance to read one of my favorite writers. And definitely, I would like to be associated with this kind of programs more and more. Thank you, everyone.
Sure. You're most welcome, and we wish you all the best. So let us move on to our next participant, Dr. Nita Lagachu Taye. Dr. Nita Lagachu Taye is an associate professor and head of the Department of English, CKB Commerce College, Jorhat. She has translated 56 Oinitom's missing lyrics into English, reverted by the River 2019. Her poem Nobility finds place in Poetica, that is in 2017, a book of world poetry published from Melbourne, Australia. She also authored Queen Elizabeth I in the poetry of Spenser and Riley, a critical study. So, ma'am, can we have your reading, please?
Thank you so much, Elma. First of all, Shamolima, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to interact this way. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, most probably we wouldn't have met each other also. And yes, and also it's really nice to see so many poetry lovers assembled this way. And as I think most of you will also agree, like poetry is really therapeutic, it is cathartic, and I feel even John Keats or Virginia Woolf, whatever they were writing, maybe they were writing it mostly for that cathartic effect, for that therapeutic effect. Because whenever I think of Keats, like Ode to a Nightingale, when he wrote, my heart aches and a drowsy numbness pains my sense as of hemlock I had drunk. Like it feels as if, he was going through a lot at that time, actually. Anyway, like I would just like to recite a poem which I had penned in 2017 on a wintry evening. and it talks about maybe that particular day I was missing Shillong, where I grew up, and the tall pine trees and the Verdun woods were, pressing on me, in my mind, and because of that, I had, composed this poem at that time. So let me just recite the poem. It is actually about nature and nurture. It is titled Tall Pine Trees. The sun peeps through from between the spiky leaves of tall pines. The stranger's hair, trudging up the forested hills, gets a sheen, dazzles and shines. The footprints were large and deep indeed, indicating the man had huge feet. A bundle of clothes in one hand and in the other a pail. Wife and children in the rear, the little ones grinning from ear to ear. Lovely entourage, varied in age. The lady, bridled and saddled with a big basket, loaves, pickles, and sausages nestled, crisscrossing the uphill path. Lovely day for a swim and bath. 7 pairs of ears pricked to the rhythmic sound of the falling waters. This sound brought forth a spring in their steps, pace quickening and breathing heavy. 7 pairs of eyes feasted on the view ahead. The cascading falls, the clear water, peace in the heart, they got down to business. 7 pairs of hands start rubbing soap to leather. At one Whitney, and I missed out one line. Peace in the heart, they got down to business. 7 pairs of hands start rubbing soap to leather. The week's laundry laid down one after the other. At one with nature, no noise, no ruckus, but the sound of the falling waters and the lashing of the clothes on the stone slabs. Saturday chores completed, all enter the flowing stream, washing away sweat and grime, the children humming a nursery rhyme. The climb and the clothes washing has left them ravenous and starving. Mummy spreads the lunch in a field of grass. Papa fills water in everyone's glass. The food was like manna from heaven for the family of 7. Such was their Saturday routine, as observed by elves and fairies unseen. Thank you so much. That's the poem.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nita Lagacho. So we have seen very beautifully how beautifully you have made a recollection of your hometown, beautiful Shillong. Even I have a very vivid recollection of the beautiful place Shillong. So which is very well described and portrayed in your poem Tall Pine Trees. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And hope we'll also look forward to your readings in the next events as well.
Thank you so much.
Elma,
Thank you.
Elma, can I ask you?
Yes.
Can we honor Nabanita ma'am with the certificate if she is there?
Yes, sure.
She wants to leave.
Sure, Ba. Please take over.
Ma'am, are you there, Nabanita ma'am?
Yeah, I'm so sorry for interrupting this beautiful session, but suddenly something has come up which requires my attention. I'm very sorry for interrupting this.
So, so you have to leave. So we want to honor you with a certificate. It's a token of honor and love for you.
Thank you.
May I ask Professor Ghanshyam sir? Sir, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. So since Navanita ma'am is going to leave, so we are going to honor her with the certificate. So we request you to do the honor. I'm sharing the
Oh, you could have.
certificate. Yeah.
Oh, you could have done that. No issues.
No, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Yes. I'm sharing the certificate. Oh, over to you, sir.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, thank you very much for doing the honors. At the same time, you have not only created a kind of a niche as far as the poetry reading session is concerned, but at the same time, you have lit the lamp of poetry. And indeed, it's a pleasure and honor to have you on the platform of iSpell, though I couldn't listen to you, but as the comments I could see, they were really fantastic. And that speaks in volume about your way of presentation and the content that you have presented today on this platform. So iSpell really feel honored to present this certificate to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It's actually my honor and pleasure to be a part of this very special evening. And thank you, sir. We actually look forward to more such interactions, and I'm sure we're going to have more meaningful cooperation in terms of poetry, academics, literature. Thank you. And I wish iSpell all the very best. And once again, apologize for, being such a spoiled sport and leaving early. I'm extremely sorry for that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so it's a great pleasure having Navanita madam with us, but unfortunately she has to leave us. But of course, we'll look forward to more sessions with her. And she's a very kind person, who interacts very well with all of us. So we'll always look forward to more speeches from her. So we'll continue on with our next reading, that is from Dr. Sabreen Ahmed. Okay, ma'am. Dr. Sabreen Ahmed is an assistant professor by profession and a poet and story writer by passion. She teaches English literature at Nogong College, Autonomous. Her sole collection of poems is Soliloquies. She has also edited a book titled Interface, Language, Ecology, and Gender in Northeast India. So, ma'am, can we have your reading, please?
Thank you, Elma, for the introduction. And thank you, Shamolima, for being the adhesive for this entire evening. Okay. So I will read out a very short poem, not very short, actually, brief poem, which appeared in this beautiful collection of feminist poetry, Kali, okay, the Kali project. And as Navanita madam was talking about earlier this evening about poetry as activism, poetry connecting, anger, poetry connecting issues of mental health, about dominance, about violence, something of this sort, tries to be negotiated through this. I try to negotiate some of these issues in this poem. So the title of this poem is Song of a Mad Woman. An heirloom of psychosis is infused in her genes. Hemlock of neurosis ooze in the blood of her kinfolk. Mania, hysteria, insomnia, schizophrenia, and paranoia, etched in her creed's paraphernalia. Sister, mother, cousin, join hands in the insane ring. One drank the hellebore, one knocked the asylum's door. Their sleepless eyes blazing ember, look for succor in the doctor's chamber. She is no Bertha Mason or Sylvia Plath, neither Virginia Woolf or any female Lear. Mad out of a discordant fear of ignominy, blame of blasphemy, of dishonor. In every social corner, she is no Medusa or a feminist seer, nor a Minerva out of wit or Saraswati dispossessed of her lotus seat. She is the bleeding Kali. She dies to relive. She is me. She is you. Mad behind civilized veils, with glaring eyes, indifferently she trails. The saga of dominance forever entails. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sabreen Ahmed. I think this poem addresses very well about, as you said, mental issues, mental health issues as well. And also we can feel the sense of, empathy here. It evokes a sense of empathy here. And also how much it addresses from a different angle. We can see, we can perceive it from a different angle. So it's a very beautiful reading. Thank you once again. Thank you so very much. And now we will call upon Dr. Abdul Mubid Islam. Is he here, sir? Sir, are you there?
Yes. Yeah, I'm.
Oh, okay, sir. Dr. Abdul Mubid Islam is currently working as an assistant professor in English, Swahid Pioli Phukan College, Namti, Sivasagar. His areas of interest include creative writing, poetry, philosophy, psychoanalysis, etc. He is also a part-time editor in various publishing houses like MRB Books and Unique Publishers. He has published his poems in various national and international journals like Gold Noon, Abhivyakti, etc. So, sir, can we have your reading, please?
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it was a very nice evening for me, personally speaking, because I was pretty much excited. As this is the first online poetry event organized by ISPL. So at the very outset, I would like to thank Dr. Shyamolima Saikia, ma'am, for taking this kind of an initiative, along with the coordinator of today's Master of Ceremony, Elma Darni. I hope I am pronouncing the name correctly. Okay, so in this hard times, in this gloomy days when COVID pandemic have deeply affected our social intimacy with one another. So I think this is a very illuminating kind of an experience, and I really thank the organizers of ISPL for taking such kind of an initiative in these dark times. And personally, I would also like to thank Dr. Shyamolima Saikia ma'am for this commendable and laudable effort. And I was really dumbstruck listening to certain fellow poets who have their own art of writing in there and have really read out such nice and beautiful pieces. So today, for the sake of this occasion, I actually selected 2 poems, but due to time constraint, I have limited myself to 1 poem. And this is a poem which I have written way back in 2015. And to go by the saying of activism in poetry, as Dr. Sengupta have so brilliantly elaborated in her discussions today. The title of the poem is The Self in the Kitchen.
Sir, you're muted, sir. Sir, you're muted, sir.
Okay. Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I am going to read out a poem. The title of the poem is The Self in the Kitchen. And it is basically a poem which talks about a woman persona and the kind of hardship that is basically seen in terms of our life, in terms of what exactly we talk about in our normal everyday life. So here it goes. I'm a mother. The kitchen is my identity. I am duty bound since my becoming and cultural conditioning. I am the empress of the room populated with utensils. There are many rooms in my house, but I prefer the profound silence of the kitchen. I wonder what is a kitchen without me. I also ponder, or need to ponder, what am I without it? The steel and fiber plates, the china clay pots and saucepans, the disciplined fire in the oven, all beautify my very presence. While the smell of cooked delicacies and the shrill whistle of the pressure cooker ensures my grand entrance. It's morning time to prepare breakfast, time to prepare tiffin boxes for my dearly beloved. Hardly eaten. Come noon, time to arrange plates for lunch, awaiting the arrival of the school buses. I love the noises. It's the only music I crave. The sound of throwing spine-bending school bags, hurling of uniforms and kicking of bata shoes, all redefine my homely existence. It's evening time to attend guests, neighbors especially, with their cranky little talks and regular mumbo jumbos. Time to prepare a light nashta. My hubby likes it after a siesta. It's night time to prepare dinner. No help from anyone, but demands of dishes of all flavor. It's midnight, time for my body to go lax. Time also to satisfy my hubby on the bed. I'm a mother and a wife, but do I have to complain? Who even have time to listen or even give a damn? I am the empress of the kitchen. I am the mistress of the house. I am a human robot with no programming command to complain, but to submit and never yield. The kitchen is my identity. It reflects my second self. But do I really possess a self? Thank you so much.
Well, that was very impressive, Dr. Abdul Mubid Islam. So being a male yourself, how much you can empathize with the women, this is really pretty impressive, you know, and I wish that more writers, more poets, I mean male poets, would empathize with women. So we are very thankful that you have brought up this poem, and also I pray that you will compose more poems based on, I mean, women, and because seeing that how much you can empathize with them. So it's really very impressive. Thank you very much. And so
thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So next we will have a reading by Namrata Talukdar, ma'am. I hope she's here.
Elma, Namrata is like a bit busy. She will join later. You can call the next poet.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, so we'll move on to the next participant, Maitri Datta, Madam Maitri Datta. So
hello, ma'am.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
So Maitri Datta has done her MA from Tezpur University and is presently pursuing her PhD from Gauhati University, Assam. She also works in Khagarijan College in Nagaon as assistant professor in the Department of English. She also dabbles in creative writings like poetry, short stories, and is also engaged in content writing. So let us hear her read her poem. Over to you.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I'm really glad ISPEL has finally come to Assam. So I'm really glad that this opportunity has been given to me. And it was really enthralling listening to Navanita ma'am, who has given us a very important talk to deliberate and think on. Without further ado, I would like to move on to my poem. The title of my poem is Because It Was Easier. As a little girl, she was gifted dolls and pretty pink glittery frocks. She loved the frizzy Barbies, and oh, she adored the smooth satin. The elegant curve of her curly hair, the slowly lengthening weight of her tresses, and of course, the blooming visage of her flower. The days went by with fun and frolicking. She danced with the stars and went on dreaming. But one day, darkness splattered onto her tail, and her downy feathers were dipped in red. Then came the looks, the grimace, and the sneers. Then came the rules, the binds, and the chains. The dreams flew away to another life, haunting another little girl. Ah, so bright. Left behind, cold and hollow, with the glittering markers, so as to follow. The young girl thus became a woman. How, you ask me? Well, it was as spluttering blisters of hot oil marked her skin even. Her little fingers blistered and rough, her nails cloistered with soapy foam. She learned to bow her head and listen to decisions made. She walked and walked and walked, hands up and hands down. Get up, sit down, go there, come here, do this, do that. Pages turned, nothing changed. And one day, she stared at her own little bundle, being gifted dolls and pretty pink frocks. All she wished, as tiny eyes dreamt, that she could teach her little daughter just to say no. But then again, it was easier to gift her frocks. It was easier to gift her pretty dolls and drown her dreams with ghastly red rocks. It was just easier that way to let her dreams fly away, and so it stayed. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so very much, Maitri. It was a very wonderful poem, and how much you have brought in feminism here, and also the topic. Though it sounds very simple, but how much depth, how much it contains inside. So because it was easier. So thank you very much for your wonderful reading. And so we'll move on to our next participant. Our next participant is Madam Sangeeta De Roy. I hope ma'am is here. Madam Sangeeta De. Ma'am, I think you're, hello. Oh, all right.
Yes,
Okay, so Madam Sangeeta De, I'll just introduce her first of all. So Madam Sangeeta De Roy is a teacher by profession. She is a poet, a fiction, non-fiction writer, and an essayist. Some of her poems and articles have found its way in pages of books, magazines, and newspapers. Also, I'd like to include that we both are also members of IPPL, where Nabanita Madam, in which Madam Nabanita is there. And also, Madam Sangeeta was my teacher back in high school. So I'm very glad that she's here with us all. So ma'am, can we have your reading, please?
Yes, thank you, Elma. So thank you all esteemed members of ISPEL, Shamolima ma'am, Elma. It's a delight being a part of this wonderful program, and also having dear Nabanita ma'am on this platform, listening to her, and particularly one sentence struck me, reclaiming that identity, that space. This sentence got the wheels of my thoughts running. Well, the poem which I'm going to recite, this poem is titled as A Yearning. This speaks of an unexplained longing as it dwells on the many branches of one human world. This poem is a reflection of the feelings that connects with the reality and portrayed through very simple words. So let me begin. A yearning. named as spiritual, intelligent, one human species. Do I say it's barrier-free from the conspiracies of man-made space, from intergalactic human universe, from all religious analysis, from decorative urbanization, from big loud dictums carved on rocks, yet are easily erased like letters engraved on sandy shores, from all the fake promises of fetching me a utopia in the earth I walk and beyond, from the incomprehensible varied letters named as script and boundaries based on color and from all rituals, from all Tecma and its diaspora, from man-made map, from all fabric of gender stereotype and glorified ladylike golden wills, from the titles of the affluent and the silence of unspoken introspection of the less privileged. So do I name all this earthly birth as spiritual, intelligent, one human race? Or do this not describe in all its totality this unfathomed yearning that talks of a some whole, that speaks of elevation above all the hazy rules? Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So Madam Sangeeta's poems are always full of emotions because I have hear her, listen to her poetry readings, a couple of times, a number of times. So thank you very, very much, ma'am, for your poem, A Yearning. And I have seen so much, emotions put to it, and I can always, resonate with it so well. So thank you very much. And we will move on to our next participant. We don't have much left here. We have four participants. Okay, so the next is Sangeeta Borua Sharma. Is she there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, so I'll give her introduction first. So Madam Sangeeta Borua Sharma is an assistant teacher in Raidangia High School, Moran District, Charaideo. She is an MA in English from Dibrugarh University, and she has been teaching English for 15 years. So ma'am, can we have your poem? Can we have the reading of your poem?
Yes, good evening, everyone. First of all, I thank you, Shamolima, for inviting me and providing me this opportunity for online poetry reading. So this is my first experience, and I'm very grateful that you haven't forgotten me after ages. I'm very glad that I feel honored for this. And I'm not a creative writer, or I have not written anything such a poem, or I'm not a writer, but as she has provided me the opportunity, so I'm going to read a poem from my school course, which I'm teaching to my students. And this is a well-known poem, and I think in this atmosphere of the world, this poem is apt for the situation, and it is a very well-known poem. The title of the poem is No Men Are Foreign by James Kirkup. Remember, no men are strange, no country is foreign. Beneath all uniforms, a single body breathes like ours. The land our brothers walk upon is earth like this, in which we all shall lie. They too, aware of sun and air and water, are fed by peaceful harvest, by war's long winter starved. Their hands are ours, and in their lines we read a labor not different from our own. Remember, they have eyes like ours that wake or sleep, and strength that can be won by love. In every land is common life that all can recognize and understand. Let us remember, whenever we are told to hate our brothers, it is ourselves that we shall dispose, betray, condemn. Remember, we who take arms against each other, it is the human earth that we defile. Our hails of fire and dust outrage the innocence of air that is everywhere our own. Remember, no men are foreign and no country is strange. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta ma'am. So you have read out a very beautiful poem and also reminded us that we need to place humanity above everything else. So thank you very much for your beautiful reading. And so let us proceed on as we
Welcome.
have. Okay, thank you. So next we have Dikshita Fukan. Is she here?
Elma, I think Dikshita won't read. You can call Sweta. Sweta.
Yes,
can come.
But is Namrata, has she come?
No, not yet.
Okay. So, okay, then let's proceed on to Shweta madam. Shweta madam, okay, Shweta Sur, hailing from Sivasagar. Shweta Sur has completed her master's degree in English from Tejpur University. She's working as a lecturer in English in Assam Downtown University. She has been awarded MPhil in English from the Bodoland University, Kokrajhar, Assam. And a amateur singer, Shweta keeps a keen interest in writing articles and poetry. So, ma'am, can we have your reading, please? You're muted, ma'am.
First of all, I would like to thank Ghanashyam sir, founder and general secretary of ISPL, Shamolima ma'am, and Alma ma'am, who made this event successful, and also the participants from all over the places, the poets who have recited very beautifully, and also our invited speaker, from whom we learned so much. Without delaying, I would like to read out a single poem that has been penned down by me. I written it, so I would like to share the screen so it is easier for everyone to see. Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
So the title of the poem is "We Are the Sinned Saint." Vitaraga bhavya krodha manmaya mam upasrita bahavo jnana tapasa putamad bhavam agata. Either the sin or the sinner, roles we have to pick anyone. No, we are the sinned saint, and that sounds quite better. Probably it's because the tamas or the phosphorus working within us. Otherwise, we are the best creation of God, aren't we? Dreaming of an egalitarian society, have we forgotten to include into the society ethic, nobility, and morality? Criminality is self-made, it is available. Sukubai or suggest any ritual purification for this in-depth impurity. Thank you.
Well, that was a very beautiful reading. Actually, it ended, even before I enjoyed it. You should have, made longer.
Yes, from next time, Alma ma'am, I will speak a long poem like T.S. Eliot's Wasteland.
Okay, I was just started to get the flavor that it added. Okay, anyway,
Ma'am, generally I write small poems only.
Oh, okay. So as Madam already elaborated, we have our own different, writing techniques. So that is still well. And the very topic itself, we are the saints, right?
We are the saint.
Oh, you have so very well put an irony already there. So I really like it. Thank you so much. It's, very in-depth. Okay, so thank you once
Thank you,
more.
ma'am. Thank
So
you,
we'll
ma'am.
move forward to our next participant.
Alma, I think Namrata is here. Namrata Talukdar is here.
Okay. So let's have the reading. Let us hear the reading from Namrata Talukdar ma'am. Okay, so let us first have the introduction. Namrata Talukdar works as a soft skill faculty in Assam, Downtown University, Panikheti, Guwahati. In 2018, she published her first poetry book, A Palette of Feelings, at Jorhat Press Club under Kasturi Publications, Jorhat. She is a lifetime member of All India Forum for English Students, Scholars, and Trainers. She also runs her own website, Dreams Endeavor, promoting soft skill all over the country. So ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much. Am I audible properly?
Yes.
Okay. Really thankful to Shyamalina ma'am, and I'm really sorry that I could not hear. I could hear all the poetry and all the talking bit by bit, because I have an 18-month-old son running all over me. So like I was feeding him. So yes, my poem actually, I would directly like to go to my poetry. Actually, it is for the unsung heroes and those people actually who are helping me in this journey of my PhD in computer science that I'm pursuing from ADTU. And also they are my house help actually. I want to dedicate it to her. I wrote it for her because for her I am working and I am what I am today. I feel they are unrecognized and unsung. So let me just read it out. For the unsung heroes. And this poem is from my second poetry book, Scribbled Overtone, released at Guwahati Press Club on 10th October 2021. So for the unsung heroes, you are a stylish rebel, yet a voiceless defender. But then, so mighty you are, you push recognition to a distant land, but your deeds are life-changing events. You are the protagonist that no one knows. Everyone else are the receivers of applaud. Your expectations are high sometimes, but you prefer to be silent and blur. You are the unsung hero, the profound garbage pickers, the diligent housemaids, and so many beautiful people who made the mechanical life for us possible. You are the unsung mother who has no chance to upload glittery pictures, but you are the one for whom I make way to my work and enter the safe home. Thank you so much. This was my wish to dedicate it to the unsung heroes who are helping us to lead this life. I am in this event today because I have left my son to her. She's helping me. Thank you so much, everyone.
Oh, that is so wonderful, Madam Namrata. And the very thought behind of that, you want to compose a poem glorifying them and also kept it unsung heroes. I mean, I really appreciate the idea you held behind. So congratulations to you for having this wonderful thought. I really appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Elma.
And all the best to your mother. Okay, and now we have next we have Deepshika Bhagawati. Okay, I hope she's here. So is she here?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. So
Am I audible?
Yeah, it's a it's a bit breaking.
Am I audible?
I think there's some problems in the audio, or is it mine? Shyamalima ma'am,
I think it is Deepshika ma'am's. Deepshika ma'am has some audio problem. Her voice is
Am I
breaking.
audible now?
Ma'am, your
Um,
voice.
Am I audible?
Yes, now you are audible.
Okay. Audible? Okay. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. So let us first have your introduction. Deepshika Bhagwati is a film critic and a creative writer. She regularly writes on film, literature, and poetry in newspapers, magazines, and national and international journals. Translation is her another domain of pursuit. She has obtained her PhD in English literature and also associated as a master trainer of English language nominated by the British Council of India in collaboration with SSA Assam. By profession, she is a postgraduate teacher in English in Dawson Higher Secondary and Multi-Purpose School, Nagaon. So ma'am, let us have your reading, please.
At first, I would like to offer my sincere gratitude to the team of this beautiful forum, all the people here, the beautiful people here. Basically, I'm a film critic. I write on films and I have represented Assam as a jury member in the recently held Kotak International Film Festival in Uttarakhand. So poetry for me, whenever some thoughts, it voluntarily clicks my mind, I just pen it down and then frame it in what I call a poem from me. So actually, I don't know whether it's a poem or whether it's a very spontaneous outburst of my feelings, as Wordsworth had stated long back. So today, I would like to actually read out 2 short poems written by me. And these poems are already published in some journal. I forgot the name actually, I'm sorry for that, in a journal and in the Assam Tribune. The first one, it is titled by me as Jador. It indoctrinates how to sing out the darkness from your little room, a day long, long enough. The epiphanies that speak me out upon the Christian Jador, the night who grows the light. Night does not ask for rules to dream. Sky doesn't to shower its thousand seasoning. Silent is the wind drizzling over a dying roof, Mirine Mikachi. The moon fades as a vagabond, blowing a thousand pipers to a crescent. And my second poem is, it is entitled as Vespers. What's there more beautiful than you? The moon and the vesper, the coffee and the whisper, the wind and the crew, it's in you on the cruise and the brew. So these are the 2 poems I have read out for all of you. Actually, I'm very indebted to you that you have given me the opportunity to join this forum, and I'm blessed with the opportunity to listen the very engrossing lecture by Navnita ma'am and the words from all those poets who are joining here today. So actually, I would like to define a particular word I have used in my poem, The Jador, that is Mikachi. So I was a student of Nehu Shillong, and then I had many classmates from Garo community. So in Garo language, Mikachi means drizzle, what I used in my poem. So thank you very much from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. And knowing that you have got such a lot of talents, being a film critic and also, being awarded, being nominated by the British Council of India. You see, we are very pleased to have you here with us, and also a person with so much of, talents, and also your poems, especially. Ma'am, again, what did you say, the particular word that you used?
Yeah, that is Mikachi. Mikachi, M-I-C-A. C-double-H-I, Mikachi in Garo language, it means soft falling shower, that is drizzle.
Drizzle. Oh, that's a very
drizzle.
Beautiful term. Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. And also we look
Thank
forward
you. My
to more of your
pleasure.
poetry readings.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So ma'am, do we have, who else was there? No, we have four. Did I
Babu
miss out
photo
any?
loisilin.
I think,
Did I miss out anyone?
no,
Have I called? Yes, I have called her.
I
So
think
now,
you can read your poems, Elma. Since I have already introduced Elma, so you can now, Elma can proceed to read her poems. She is a very talented poet too. Let's listen to her.
thank you so much. Actually, I was thinking we are running short of time and I shouldn't read my poem, but because you have, sad. So I'll just read a very short poem where I wrote about the topic of my poem is strengths. So I am basically speaking about the strength, reflecting on my strengths here. So let me read out without wasting more time. Strengths. Drenched in the moonbeams, my mind elevates to indescribable heights, my thoughts unburdened, my visions sharpened, my world is subdued with intoxicating melodies of undying happiness. Rescued from the dying past, I stand alone, reflecting upon my strengths and powers. My bones hardened, my heart strengthened, my world is subdued with mesmerizing sublimity of undying excellence. Thank you so much. Okay, so
Thank you, Alma. Yeah. Thank you. It was really wonderful to listen to you. And you write very straightforward, in a straightforward manner, and very candid expression of your feelings. And no doubt you are a very powerful lady. Thank you.
Thank you so much again. Okay, so ma'am, should we have your readings too? Because you have done me the honor of.
I'm reserving it for the next time, and we also have a lot of guests. We are sorry that we cannot accommodate them. We wanted to listen to them also, but I think we can have another poetry event very soon, and we will ask more of our members and guests to present their contributions, their creations. Then I think, Elma, we can move on to the certificate presentation. Since we don't have much time, I think we can distribute the certificates of the participants, of the those who have read the poems later on. I ask Ghanshyam sir, are you there?
Dr. Shamalima, you continue with distribution of certificates because you know them well, so they'll be very happy to listen their name from you.
Yeah.
I'm there, no issues, I'm there.
So since there are a lot of participants, I'm thinking that we can give these certificates later on. Will it be okay, sir?
You can distribute the certificates if you have ready with you.
Yeah.
It could be done right now.
Okay.
Do you have it?
Yes, sir. So I'm sharing the certificate for the Master of Ceremony to
Elma.
Yes, first of all.
Right. So Elma, this certificate goes to you for not only rowing the ship, but also making it to reach the destination in a quite, what should I say, in a very rhythmic way. Because as the water flows, the poetry also flows in the same way. And the boat of ISPEL Assam Forum is also flowing with the water of poetry. So you have done a wonderful job as the Master of Ceremonies. So entire ceremony was yours and you have proved your mastery over it. So this certificate goes to you.
I'm honored, very much honored, sir.
So next we have Dipashri ma'am. A certificate is here. She was our
This
first reader.
certificate goes to Mrs. Dipashri for presenting her poems on the platform of ISPEL. So kindly accept it. Is she there?
We don't exactly know. Maybe she has left. So we can move on to the next certificate, I think. Dipasri ma'am, are you there? I think she has left. The next is here, the next certificate.
Madhumita.
Dr. Madhumita Prakashta.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm honored. I'm here. It was a wonderful session, and I hope to be in the next sessions as well, whenever you organize them. And thank you so much, sir, for the honor.
Thank you,
Thanks a
ma'am.
lot, ma'am.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
It was wonderful listening to you, ma'am. And we hope to listen again to you in the future.
Thank you, Shamalima.
The next one is Dr. Lita Lagasutai. Ma'am's certificate is here. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, truly honored to receive this certificate. Thank you, iSpell. Thank you, sir, who is presenting iSpell. And
Thank you, ma'am.
yes, and everyone, I really enjoyed the session today. I would like to repeat, Madhumita ma'am, that I wouldn't mind being in the next session too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for being present, and we really enjoyed your poems.
Thank you so much.
The next certificate is presented to Mrs. Neeta Sharma. Ma'am, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a lovely reading
Thank
of
you,
a poem.
everyone. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone. It was such a lovely
Yeah.
evening. We look forward to such evenings.
Yeah.
And thank you for organizing it so well. Professor Shamalima and Elma, both of you have done a good work. Thank you so
ma'am.
much.
Yes, we look forward to your support. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be there.
Yes. I'm presenting the next one. Maybe it is not in a serial done in a serial manner, but I'm just sharing whatever I'm getting. The next certificate is presented to Mrs. Meenakshi Goswami, ma'am. Ma'am, are you there?
There? Yes, I'm there.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shamalima. And Elma, both of you have done a very good job indeed. And thank you, Professor Ghanshyam, so for being here, and iSpell Assam Forum is really grateful to you. Thank you, everyone. I'm honored.
Thank you, ma'am. It was really wonderful listening. I mean, your expression was quite wonderful.
Thank you. I'm honored.
The next certificate goes to Maitri Datta. Maitri, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot to ISPEL and also our organizers. I had a really wonderful time here, and I hope we can have more such events in the future. Thanks a lot. I'm honored.
Definitely, definitely. We look forward to your participation, and your poem was really like very wonderful evocation of feelings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next one is presented to, the next certificate is presented to Sangeeta De Roy, ma'am. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. And happy and honored to be a part of this wonderful session. Looking forward to many more of such sessions in the future. Thank you, everyone. And ISPEL, well, ma'am, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And we look forward to your participation. It was wonderful, like listening to your splendid points.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next is the next certificate goes to Sangeeta Bora Sharma. Sangeeta, are you there? She is my friend, no doubt.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much. I'm honored. Thanks once again, Shamolima, for providing me this opportunity, inviting me to the event. And thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. And we look forward to your participation, and maybe we can listen to your creative expressions again.
Okay, I'll try. And thanks for the inspiring words for me.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
The next certificate goes to Ms. Sweta Sur. Sweta, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am.
For such a beautiful poem. And of course, you are a very active member of our forum, and see, there are things we cannot do without you. So you are like
Thank you so much. I'm honored, ma'am, and thanks for the continuous support and opportunities, not only to me, but to many those who want to be with the creative field.
Thank you. I think, yeah, Namrata Talukdar. Has Namrata received the certificate?
Yes, no, ma'am, not yet.
Okay. There was a slight spelling mistake. I'm sorry. I will like correct it. I will give you like we will present you another one. So this certificate is presented to Namrata Talukdar. Really, it was wonderful listening to you. You have voiced your feelings of being a mother of a working woman, and that was really wonderful. And we look forward to your participation in future.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, always there. Yeah. Yes, okay.
Elma, please make sure I have I left? Yes. I think Dr. Sabreen Ahmed's certificate is here. This certificate is presented to Dr. Sabreen Ahmed. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. I really have been I really appreciate your writings. I really enjoy your poems, and it was again nice to hear from you today, and we look forward to your poetry readings and participation again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. And this evening was really invigorating with so many new voices, experienced voices, as well as established voices talking about poetry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I look forward to be here again.
Yeah, definitely. The next certificate is presented to Dr. Deepsika Bhagawati. Ma'am. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I am there.
Yeah. So it was really nice listening to you. And as Elma said, you are very talented. And yes, we need people like you to join us and participate and support us. So it was wonderful listening to you. Thank you.
Actually, it's my pleasure and honor to be associated with you, all the beautiful people in this forum. And I look forward to joining many more events, that are forthcoming events from your side. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me.
Yeah. Thank you. Elma, I think Sangeeta De Roy ma'am's certificate is left.
We have given it to her.
Okay. So I think Dr. Abdul Mubid Islam, his certificate is yet to be given. So, sir, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for being present today and presenting your very thought-provoking points. And as Elma has already said, and we also agree that you have been able to empathize with the women's feelings despite being a male person. We appreciate your contribution. We appreciate your effort. Yes, I have read your other poems as well in another anthology, and I really liked. We look forward to your participation and support in our forum. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. And it has been indeed I was really blessed to be a part of this August gathering, and I really look forward to for the next session as well. And it has been indeed a nice and rewarding experience for me. And we also want the objective of such kind of a conference or such kind of ceremonies should be that we try to connect with one another, live our life, learn to live our life, and enjoy the most while we can. So thank you so much for letting me be a part of this forum.
Thank you. Yes, there's another certificate. This certificate is presented to Alma Lalnun Syami Dharni. Alma, thank you for your lovely poem.
Thank you so
Alma,
much.
Yeah. Yes,
That
I
was
read.
very unexpected,
Yeah,
you know.
So you write very candidly, and yes, I have read your other poems as well. And today, to listen to you was really invigorating, wonderful. Thank you, Alma.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So, is there anyone left yet to receive the certificate?
This one, none.
Sweta has received, isn't it? Yes.
Yes,
I think there is,
ma'am. I received.
yes, there is no one. So I think we can wind up since it is already too late, and we look forward to more of these poetry readings. We are sorry that we could not accommodate other poets. We would like to invite other members, guests, of course, who are interested. And today was really a wonderful session, and especially the lecture, the deliberation on poetry and activism by Dr. Nabanita Sengupta was really wonderful. It was very thought-provoking, and since ma'am has left, we cannot like express our thanks, but we hope to listen to her again in the future. So thanks, Elma, for being with us and for like moderating the entire event in such a very very smooth manner. You have really entertained us. Thank you. And I express thanks to Professor Ghanshyam sir for being present with us and forever encouraging and supporting us in all our endeavors. Truly, sir, we cannot endeavor to do anything without your support, and your guidance is very much essential for us. And we also thank all other members, esteemed members of our forum who have participated. Indeed, it was a pleasure listening to all the poets. Such a lovely rendering of their creative works. Alma, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. So it was indeed a very wonderful evening. And also, I'm very much honored and privileged to be the Master of Ceremonies in the first ever poetry reading session that we have in ISPEL. So, and of course, my sincere thanks to Shyamolima Madam for giving me this opportunity. Though our sincere gratitude goes to Nabanta ma'am, she has already left, but of course we'll look forward to more sessions with her. And also our thanks goes to our founder secretary, Mr. Ghanshyam. Sir, we are very much happy that we have seen that since the inauguration of our forum, you have been with us, always encouraging us, guiding us. And I have seen that you have been very, extending your support to us in all spheres. So even when we were saying there's less time, you say, you encourage us, go on. They will feel happy if they get their certificate. You see, this sort of encouragement means a lot to us. Thank you very, very much, sir. So we look forward to, your encouragement even in the days to come. And also, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all the participants, all the esteemed members reading your poems, and sharing your poems. And it has been a very wonderful event today. So you have shared your poems very beautifully, and I personally encourage you to write more poems and also to take part in more of our events to come. So we'll look forward to our next poetry session, which hopefully we'll be conducting very soon. And of course, we will meet you all. And also, again, once last but not the least, I'd also like to offer my sincere thanks to Shyamolima Madam for giving me this opportunity. And also, I have seen that she has taken much effort, since the inception of our forum. She has been she has coordinated very well, bringing Assam to the forefront. And also, I have seen that she's a very dedicated person. And of course, being her, having her as our convener means a lot to us. So thank you very much, ma'am. So we'll look forward again. For your guidance, you guide us again continuously. And also, as much as we can, we will participate, and also we'll try to take part in all the events. So lastly, I'd like to thank everyone present here. Your presence have graced the occasion and has made the program a grand success. So with this, we formally end our event for today. Thank you all very much for your cooperation. Good night.
Elma, hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yeah. Just a request to all the people, those who are on this platform of Assam iSpell Forum, to come together, because always it is said coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. So let all of us unite together and bring in many more things like Shamolima is struggling for preparing the flyers. So those who are very well talented and they are into ICT, they can really help us well, because we need to form the body of iSpell, and we do need people, those who are very creative, very innovative, very dynamic, vibrant, enterprising, because these forums can start very well, but sustaining the forum is a difficult task. And nowadays, sustainability is the biggest problem. So in that way, if iSpell can do much better, then the people, those who are there on the platform, they can call 5 more people. One can reach 10 people together, and in that way we can increase our fraternity. We can grow vertically and horizontally, and that's the need of the hour. So let us all, with the fraternity, reach the students, because we need to touch the future we teach. If we are not touching the future we teach, then take out T, what remains is ouch. So we do not want to leave ouch, and that's why we want to touch each one of them. So let this iSpell go on touching the people, touching their hearts, and making them to write poems, short stories, creative writings, and whatnot, so that the world will become a peaceful entity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And
Yeah, wish you all a very good evening and good night.
Good night, sir.
good night, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So, Ba, if you have anything to say, we have formally ended our session.
Yes, we have come
We
to
can
the
request
end.
the members to be present for the next session.
Yeah. Then we can wind up. Yes. Good night, Alma. Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone. It was indeed a wonderful evening. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good
Good
night.
night. Good night. এই যে এখানে